Hello and welcome to the Nope Coach podcast. This is episode 298, Weaponised Incompetence. And I'm your host, Suzanne Culberg. Literally, just as I hit record, it has started to storm incredibly loudly. So this is a test on my microphone today. It's like, no, this episode is being done. I don't know, it might not win me any friends. Maybe this is a sign. The storm is a sign that I should come back or choose another topic. But as I said in the last episode, this is one take, no fake. So here we go. Weaponized incompetence. I don't know the official meaning of this term. Perhaps I should have looked it up before I hit record and done a little bit of research. But this is the way that I'm defining it for how we are talking about this topic today. It's when somebody who otherwise could be capable chooses not to be and puts it onto you. Weaponized incompetence. Just saying the phrase or thinking about, someone who's otherwise capable or could be capable, but just like, nah, you'll do it. They say something like, oh, I don't know how to do that. With the assumption of, you'll be like, let me do it for you. They don't actually ask, hey, Suzanne, could you do this for me? Or would you be able to? They're just like, oh, I can't do that. And me in my past people-pleasing days or in my rescuer or savior energy would be like, oh, I'll do it for you. Whereas right now I'd be like, oh, okay then. Silence. And sometimes it's interesting when you leave it there, how later on that day or that week, then they can come back to you and it's like, well, you haven't done this. And it's like, but you didn't ask me to. Well, I told you I didn't know how to do it. And I said, oh, okay then. Like there's almost a entitlement energy. It takes me back to at school when we used to do group projects. I don't know about anyone else, but I shudder inside. Well, here comes that storm again. Can't wait to hear if you guys can actually hear this or if my mic's still in its job. But back to the point, at school, when there was a group project, how many people would use their weaponized incompetence to not only not do anything or not show up, but then expect to be given the same grade? I used to always just be the one who did everything. I'd do the entire project and then everyone else would get the same grade. And it used to really get my goat. And I remember I can't remember which year of medical school. I went to medical school, by the way, if you aren't aware, I left in my 5th year, but it was either first or second year. But anyway, we were given a project to do on emphysema. It was worth a large percentage of our grade. There was 4 of us assigned to this project and we had to do a presentation. And there was one person in the group, weaponized incompetence, who was just basically sliding under the radar. And this maybe was the beginning of my boundaried as fuck days, but I was just done. I was done with doing everyone's work for them. I was done with carrying the weight of the team. And I said to the person, like, this is not on. You need to pull your weight. And they were just like ignoring me. So I said to them, I'm going to go to the lecturer and let them know that you're not pulling weight. And they're like, yeah. Anyway, I did. I went to the person and I said, I don't think this is fair. This is worth a large percentage of our grade. This person is not coming to meetings, not showing up, not preparing, and we're having to carry them. And also too, when you think about it going forward, medical school is training the doctors of the world. What kind of doctor are you going to be if you can't show up for your learning? Well, anyway, I digress. And the lecturer was like, okay. And they introduced a new part of the project that we had to do a presentation. And so the 3 of the 4 of us were being marked on our presentation, and then this person was being marked individually. And it was really clear that theirs mark was going to be separate to ours. And to cut a long story short, the 3 of the 4 of us, we got 85%, like a high distinction on that presentation, which for me at the time, presenting things was hard. And now I do a daily show. I digress. And the other person got 32%, so a failing grade. All of this to say, if there are people in your life who are showing weaponized incompetence, whether it be they're not doing their homework and then the night before are coming to you at 10 o'clock saying, Mom, I need a diorama for tomorrow, or whether they've been tasked with organizing a school trip or paying a bill or cleaning something or preparing a meal, or there are so many ways that this can show up. and then they don't pull their end of the bargain because they don't know how, or they're confused, or they forgot, and they have this kind of assumption that you'll just do it for them. You don't need to. When someone comes and dumps their stuff on you, it is not the signal for you to jump in and go sure and take over. It's okay to say, oh, okay, and leave it at that and watch them respond, because there is a total difference between asking, hey, I tried to do this like you showed me, and I'm having an issue. Can you sit down with me? Can we work through it together? Like them showing some sort of initiative that I want to learn this skill. Like the person in the group project, if they said, look, I've got a really lot going on at home, or my job, or whatever. Like they don't need to give me all the details, but they can be saying, I have a lot going on outside of this. I would like some more direction, or I'm unsure when you say this, or how can I help, or that time doesn't work for me, or whatever, rather than nodding and saying they'll do it and then just not showing up and assuming that you'll do it for them, or nodding and saying they'll do it and then not doing it and then saying that they were confused. Like, I think sometimes it's almost some kind of weird gaslighting situation, like where you sit down, if it is a group project, or, something like planning a holiday, or something that needs to be done around the house or whatever. And you're like, you do this and you do this and I'll do this, and it's clear. And then later on, when it's time to bring all the parts together, the person's like, well, I didn't know I had to do that. And you're thinking, were we at the same planning meeting? Were we at the same front end discussion about who would do what? Because if you think about baking as an example, if you're going to bake a cake, some of the ingredients need to be prepared in a certain way. Like you need to crack open the egg before you put it in with the flour, or you might need to sift the flour to soften it, or you might need to cream the butter and the sugar together. Like there are ways that you prepare so that at the end you end up with a cake. If you kind of turn the oven on and then put the flour in the oven and then decide to add the egg and then the butter and then do it all out of sequence, you don't have a cake at the end. You have a ginormous mess. And sometimes, with people in their weaponized incompetence, for whatever reason, they don't do their part. Like they don't crack the eggs, or they don't cream the butter and the sugar. And then at the end, there is a giant mess, and some of us end up picking up after them. But we've allowed ourselves to do that. We have picked up again and again. We have said yes. We have rescued. We have stood in. So it's looking at, where is our role in this? Not to victim blame, not to get down on ourselves, not to be judgmental, but to be clear going forward that, what we allow will continue, and we're not going to allow this any longer. And sometimes when you stop people pleasing, people are not pleased. And there can be this butting heads, or this pressure, or this pushback in the beginning. It's amazing. I'm a mum of two, and my children, when they have a group project, or when they have a speech, or when they have anything now, they literally run in the door that day from school and are handing over the sheet or the notice or the instructions, because there came a time where I was like, no, I will not build this diorama. No, I will not help you with this speech, because you knew ahead of time, and your inability to prepare is not my problem. And sending my children to school knowing that they're going to get a bad grade, or knowing they're calling me the worst mum in the world and that I don't care and I don't love them and all this sort of stuff, has in times been the hardest thing. But I would much rather than they learn this lesson now when they're in grade 3 and 6, and in the scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, than when they're an adult who's trying to go for a job interview, or who is trying to create something, or, where something really is on the line and they have no idea how to do it. So it doesn't have to be your children. It can be anyone in your life. When you notice there's this assumption, oh, Suze will do that, or, Sarah will do this, or Sally will do that. And you're sick of just being on the receiving end of, this assumption that you'll do it for them. Not just to totally leave them in the lurch, but maybe saying, up until now, I have bailed you out, or I have stepped in, but going forward, this is going to change, and here's how. And most of the time they'll go, yep, sure. And then when push comes to shove, or we're on the wire, they'll just expect again. And you just to remind them, oh, okay. When they go, I don't know how to do this or whatever. Okay, then. And what are you going to do about it? Like, put the ball back into their court, because it's not your problem. people's failure to plan or organize or be prepared is never our problem. Like when you think about it, if you're going to go on a journey, if we were like, it's towards the end of summer here, it's quite hot. If we were going to go on a day trip, I think of the things I'd pack: water, meals or snacks at the very least, sunscreen, hat, maybe a towel if we're going to go somewhere wet, like all these things that I need to prepare. And that is just for a day trip. And then there's the person who just rocks up and turns up and expects it everywhere else. Like, oh, can I borrow some sunscreen? I forgot some. Oh, can I have some water? I left a bottle at home. Oh, can I have some of your snacks? And it's for you to say, like, okay, we're going on this trip. What do we need? What are you bringing? And then if they don't, then it's not your problem. There's a shop or there's a store or there's, let them take care of it, because you overworking and over giving and over caretaking for everyone else leads to exhaustion and burnout and frustration and all these things. And, people won't come out of their weaponized incompetence until somebody really stands the ground for them. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what you think. What are your, pet peeves or places where you're like, oh, I'm always the one like who brings the snacks or packs the water or buys the tickets or whatever. And how are you going to communicate that? Like firstly, what needs to change? And secondly, how are you going to communicate it? Because what would you like instead? Because where we come unstuck is sometimes we get so frustrated and so done with it that we just blow up back at them. Why do they call people pleasers exploding doormats? Because you take it and you take it and you take it and you take it until you're done. And then it becomes an explosion. And then it's like, what's wrong with her? But instead, or him, as the case may be. But instead, if you be really clear, up until now, this is how this has gone down. Going forward, this is how it's going to be. And set that clear boundary and expectation, and then remind them, that's when things really start to change. Hope this has been helpful. Thank you for joining me. Hope to catch you on the next one. Bye for now.